Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the work session of Las Cruces City Council. Today is Monday, September 12th, 2022. Before we begin, I'm going to ask you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, as well as a brief moment of silence, followed by that for those who perished during 9/11, as well as the members of the public safety, police, and fire who lost their lives hiding in the Twin Towers, as well as the Pentagon and Flight 93. Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, as we usually start off is introduction of our pets of the week, and Jennifer Martinez from our communications office will introduce them.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Jennifer Martinez with the City's Communications Office. And as usual, I will begin introducing you to our cat of the week, and I will begin with Paintbrush. Paintbrush is a little shy to start, but once you give him a chance to warm up, look out, sweetness. This guy loves to be pet and will rub up against you asking for pets. He promises to be a great companion if you just give him a little bit of time. And then every day is Tongue Out Tuesday for this guy. Devin is a happy-go-lucky boy who's been at the shelter for almost an entire year. So let's work extra hard this week to get the word out and help get this guy a forever home. If you have room in your home and your heart, please come down to the center to visit him or Paintbrush. Best Friends National Adoption Weekend is September 16th through the 18th. There is no better time to bring Paintbrush or Devin home. There is also a weekend event at PetSmart. It takes place from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. this Saturday. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. And now we're going to have our jobs of the week. And it looks like we're a new person who's going to be introduced as Amanda Tapia. It's going to be from the New Mexico Workforce Connections.
Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Tapia, and it is a pleasure to be here to talk about the jobs of the week. The City of Las Cruces has an animal control officer position available. Saputo Cheese currently has a packaging operator position available. There is a facility maintenance technician with the New Mexico State University. Dearson Charities also has a resident monitor position available, and Amador Health Center has a medical assistant position available. Great, thank you. Some notes for the month of September. Today, the 12th, and Tuesday, September 13th, from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m., Early Childhood Development Job Fair is being held at New Mexico Workforce Connection Office, 226 South Alameda Boulevard. Wednesday, the 14th, from 9 to 11 a.m., and then again 1:30 to 3 p.m., there will be an Employer Connection event as well at New Mexico Workforce Connection Office. For more information on the positions opening and events, please reach out to New Mexico Workforce Connections, 575-524-6250, at our offices on South Alameda, or by visiting www.employnm.com. Thank you.
Okay, very good, Amanda. Thanks for, you did a lot better job than Chris, so. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. Okay, so we have 4 items on the agenda. First one being the redistricting concept maps. And it looks like Christine Rivera, our city clerk, is going to be presenting. And if you're wondering who the lady is to the left, that's Teresa. So.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. I'm Christine Rivera, City Clerk, and today I have for you the much anticipated redistricting. So I'm going to go through a little background, and then I'm going to turn it over to research and polling. I have Brittany Poss here with me, who's going to go over the concept maps, and then we also have Michael Sharp on the line in case you have any additional questions. So a little background on why we do redistricting. It is part of our charter, and the charter states that we will have a periodic review of the boundaries of the districts, and that each council district shall contain as nearly as possible substantially the same population based upon the most recent federal census. So how we began this process is we created the Redistricting Ad Hoc Committee, which was approved on September 7th, and that was Resolution 22-031. And then we contracted with Research and Polling in February of 2022. I had an initial meeting with them, and then we decided to go ahead and meet with our committee. So I'd like to actually thank our committee. They did a fantastic job. It was a very difficult job, and so I really want to thank them, and I want to point some of them out who are here in the audience. Estela Hernandez, she was our District 1 representative. Rosemary Sanchez was our District 2. Terry Cook, District 3. Lydia Hammond, District 4. She was also our chair, so she kept us in line. Francis Lerner, District 5. Michael Harris, District 6, who was also our vice chair. And then Dr. Bobby Green, who was our at-large position. So our redistricting ad hoc committee began meeting in April 13th to be exact, and they met about every 2 weeks, except for the month of June. We only met once because they wanted to get public comment. And our last meeting was August 3rd. At this point, they reviewed, it was at least 10. When I looked back, I think it was about 12. They reviewed 12 concept maps and narrowed it down to 4, which are going to be presented to you today. So we did have public comment. We had it via email. We had a special email set up so that people could email our comments regarding redistricting. Of course, the meetings were open to the public, so we did have in-person comments. We also had our communications office set up a web page, which was on the front page of the city website, as well as we had a couple of news releases go out asking for public comment related to that. So as I mentioned earlier, we did have 4 main concept maps that the committee wanted us to bring to you today, and they did rank them for you. So as you can see, the least favorite was concept map B, and then the favorite was concept map K. And Brittany will get more into those concept maps a little later in the presentation. So now I'm going to actually turn it over to Brittany Poss, who is going to go over some redistricting principles with you and then go over the concept maps.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Good morning, members of the council, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you to Madam Clerk. She has shepherded this process and done such an incredible job. It's been really easy on us as contractors, and I think the committee has done some really great work, and I'm so excited this morning to hear your feedback on some of the work that they've done. What I'd like to do today, just by way of introduction, my name is Brittany Poss. I'm the Director of Data and Analytics at Research and Polling, and we provide the professional services for redistricting for cities like Las Cruces, for counties and school boards, and we also redistricted the state and have the last like 40 years. So we have a little bit of experience doing redistricting. So today, I want to talk just a little bit about the principles of redistricting to sort of outline, what the requirements are and sort of what the things that the committee had to think through and that you'll now be required to think through. Look at the actual census data for Las Cruces to sort of see what the score is and what the sort of pressures are in terms of how we drew the lines, and then go over those 4 maps that have been recommended to you by your redistricting committee. So as the Madam Clerk said, that redistricting is a constitutional requirement after the census completes their count, and as you know, in 2020, the census went around and tried to count everybody living in the city of Las Cruces. So that includes adults, children, students, immigrants, citizens, non-citizens. When we use census data for redistricting, we're using the total population of the city of Las Cruces. And then we use those data to redraw the district boundaries. And this really comes down to the idea of one person, one vote and equal representation. So if somebody, in a district on the East Mesa is in a district with a lot of people, they're getting less representation than somebody in the university area who's in a district with fewer people, right? So we really take this opportunity to equalize the districts. But this is also a really sort of important critical juncture that happens every 10 years where you get the opportunity to sort of rethink existing boundaries. Is this still working for the city? You know, is there something we can do with the population that lives here today that would be more advantageous for the community? So it's a really exciting time. I love redistricting. I think it's great. So excited to be here talking to you about it. There are some major principles to keep in mind as you're drawing boundaries and considering maps. These are equal population, minority voting rights, contiguity, compactness, and communities of interest. And I'll talk really briefly about each one of these. So in terms of equal population, again, sort of the thrust of redistricting is really about one person, one vote. So we want to make sure that these districts are equal. What does equal mean? That's a great question that I asked myself. So we start with ideal population, and the way we get this is some really fancy math. Just kidding, it's really easy. Divide the total city population by the number of districts, which as you know is 6. And that gets us the perfect sort of ideal population for each district. Then, as Madam City Clerk said, the charter, as well as state law, allows districts to be substantially equal. So districts don't have to be perfectly equal, and according to state law for cities like Las Cruces, that means that there's an allowable population deviation of plus or minus 5% around that ideal district population. And that flexibility gives us the opportunity to, satisfy other goals of redistricting, like minority voting rights, which I'll talk about in a second, or keeping communities of interest together. Speaking of minority voting rights, this is always sort of an awkward term to use, especially in New Mexico, especially in Las Cruces, because communities of color are not the minority. But this is legal terminology that comes out of the Voting Rights Act and then is applied to redistricting. And the idea is really that when drawing districts, you want to be careful not to dilute the voting strength of communities of color. You draw districts that allow communities of color the opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. And most often this means you want to watch out for packing or cracking. Packing is when you concentrate as much of a community of color into a single district as possible to minimize their influence in any other districts. And cracking is when you sort of do the opposite. You try to take a community of color into as many districts as you can in order to minimize that community's influence in any one given district. So we'll look out for that sort of packing and cracking. There is a caveat to this. This is an image of a North Carolina congressional district in 1991, and this is a silly-looking congressional district. And basically what's happening is it's following an interstate, picking up all of the black communities that live along the interstate. And the Supreme Court said that this is racial gerrymandering. When you use race as the predominant factor in redistricting, subordinating the other principles of redistricting, like in this case, compactness, that's a racial gerrymander, and you want to watch out for that. So it's a little bit of a fine line to walk, but I think it's an important thing to consider. Next is contiguity, and this is just the idea that all parts of the district are connected. So you can see on the left, this A, B, and C are contiguous districts. On the right, they're not contiguous because there's an island of population in District A that's not connected to the rest of District A. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is impacted by city boundaries. So as you know, District 2 in the university area has sort of just a little bit of point contiguity. And I can show you when we look at the maps, but there's just sort of an island of population around Centennial High School that's connected to District 2. And that's just about city boundaries. And so that's not impacted by any sort of contiguity rules. Then compactness is really important. So we looked at that North Carolina district. That is a very non-compact district. It's really about how a district is distributed around its center. Does it look like a circle or a square, or does it look like a pencil or a snake, or like this Texas congressional district in 1991 that's just sort of jutting around everywhere? So you want to look for districts that are sort of tightly clustered around its center point. There are sort of mathematical measures of this, but we all know what shapes look like. You sort of know it when you see it. Again, this can be impacted by municipal boundaries. As you know, there's sort of road contiguity in District 4 along I-10 out into the West Mesa area where the airport is, and that's just city boundaries. So that district is always going to look a little less compact, and that's okay. And then finally, we want to think about communities of interest. And this is identifying groups or areas with shared characteristics like language, history, lived experiences, and working to draw districts that keep those communities of interest together. We heard a lot during the committee process from the public about the importance of the Mesquite Historic District and the Alameda Depot neighborhood and the importance of keeping those in one district, and that guided some of the committee's thinking. Also, we heard about east of I-25 and north of Lowman, that sort of Sonoma Ranch area needing to stay together as a community of interest. So this is definitely something that the committee was very sensitive to, heard a lot of public input on, and it's an important sort of principle of redistricting. Other things you can consider as you draw boundaries are, keeping the core of existing districts intact, to ease voter confusion, or considering the residence of incumbents, things like that. Just really briefly, there's often tension among these principles. There is no such thing as a perfect map. Sometimes honoring a community of interest may affect how compact a district is, or ensuring that, we're meeting minority voting rights may mean larger population deviations across districts. So it's about following the legal rules, but prioritizing the principles to create the districts that are best for Las Cruces. So, with all that said, let's move on to the fun part, which is the actual data for the city of Las Cruces. So according to the 2020 census, the population of Las Cruces is a little over 111,000 folks. And you can see the percent change by decade in the sort of right three columns of this slide. And you can see that, while Las Cruces grew by about 14% over the last decade, that's less than half of the growth that it saw in the previous decade, from 2000 to 2010. But Las Cruces was one of the faster growing areas in the state. So the state as a whole grew by 2.8% over the decade, which is the lowest rate of growth in New Mexico's history. So, Las Cruces is sort of a winner on that score, but it still is less than you've seen other decades. And, as you might imagine, as you, I'm sure, intuit, this growth is not evenly distributed across the city, right? There are places that grew a lot faster, like the East Mesa. So you can see districts 5 and 6. District 5 grew at almost 50% over the last decade. District 6 by more than 25%. And then on the west side of I-25, there was a lot less growth, and some districts actually lost population. So you can see District 2, the university area, grew a little bit, but didn't keep pace with the city as a whole. District 4 also grew a little bit, but Districts 1 and 3, sort of the core sort of downtown historic areas, actually lost population over the decade. And so that impacts sort of what we have to do in terms of adjusting the boundaries for equal population. This is another look at this, and here we're looking at the deviation from the ideal population. And you'll remember that's the total city population divided by 6, and we're allowed that flexibility of plus or minus 5%. And you can see that all 6 of the districts are outside of that allowable deviation. So all of the districts are either going to have to grow and gain some population, or shrink and lose population. And of course, it's districts 5 and 6 that are going to need to shrink and lose population, so at least one West Side district is going to have to cross I-25 to pick up that population. And then the other districts on the west side of 25 will need to grow and gain population. So this is a look at the race and ethnicity data for the city of Las Cruces. Here we're moving from looking at total population to looking at adult population, because for redistricting, we're mostly looking at race and ethnicity data around sort of minority voting rights in the VRA. So we're looking at voting age population, so adult population. The Hispanic percentage in the city was 56%. Black 2.3, Asian 1.9, Native 0.9, and white 36.5. And again, not evenly distributed across the districts. Currently, 5 of the 6 districts are majority Hispanic, and District 6 is still majority minority, but it's, yeah, and so, the other racial and ethnic groups don't meet the sort of stringent legal requirements of the VRA to have special districts drawn for them, but it is important to sort of know where folks are distributed across the city. So you can see the Hispanic, the Black, the API, the Native American, and the white percentages in each district. And with that, so I'm happy to stop and take questions about sort of the principles or the data, or happy to also just jump into looking at the maps. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Brittany. That was excellent. I think the committee did an excellent job. I know it's a challenging task every 10 years, but it looks good. Yeah.
Great.
So on the maps, the stars represent, I presume, where each respective counselor lives.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Counselor Flores?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much, Ms. VRA. Thank you so much for that explanation as to why the census is so important and to have that one person, one vote represented in our polling, on the day of elections. But how many people, did you take any data on the number of people that showed up from their respective districts to participate in the input by those people? Do you have that data?
Mayor, Councilor Flores, it was majority the historic districts, Alameda and Mesquite. Those were the ones that showed up primarily.
And do you believe that there was a fair representation of those who participated in that, citywide, district-wide? Probably not. You're making a face. You're smiling.
Mayor, Councilor
okay.
Flores, I would say probably not. We did not get a whole lot of feedback. We did put out news releases, we had a website, we had an email address, and we did not get very much feedback.
Okay, thank you so much. And insofar as the breakdown of white, Hispanic, a lot of people I know, because I'm originally from Texas but grew up in California, I know that in New Mexico, a lot of Hispanics consider themselves white. And a lot of whites consider themselves white. So do we have anything that delineates the difference between a Hispanic white and a white?
Mr. Mayor and Councilor Flores, so we use the census categories, and when we look at the white population, we pull out anybody that also said they were Hispanic. So we call this category non-Hispanic white. And then the Hispanic category is anybody who said they were Hispanic.
Okay,
no matter
so on
what
the
race they checked.
So, but you don't. Oh, I see. So there were non-Hispanic whites. So then, where do you put? So
Mr.
where do you
Mayor,
put the Hispanic? I mean, how do you differentiate, or in terms of the ethnicity breakdown?
Sure. So anyone who chose Hispanic on their census form is in the Hispanic category.
Perdón. Yes,
Right.
you just
so
said that. Okay.
So that includes, anybody that shows Hispanic and black or Hispanic and white. So any Hispanic at all. And then all of the other racial groups don't include Hispanics in them.
Yes, I see. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So I'm interested, Councilor Beta.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for this. One piece of information that I found very useful as I was being educated, and I thought it would be important for you to maybe clarify for the public. When we look at these maps, we are seeing precinct numbers. And kind of in my district especially, and given these maps, you can see how some areas are included and not, and it may not necessarily make sense, but it is due to these precincts having to be kept together. So I was wondering if you could just explain that for us.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Councilor Beta, thank you so much for that opportunity. Yes, so state law suggests that local governments don't split precincts. And that just sort of makes it easier for voters. It makes it easier for city and county clerks to run elections. And so we're sort of constrained by where those precinct boundaries are. And so there are places where, we wish we could hold the boundary all the way down Main, for example. But because of how the precincts are built, there might be a little jag onto a side street. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
So I was going to say I was interested to see if the councilors would like to comment. I mean, how you feel about the districts that, I know it's a challenge. I'm trying to think, one point or another in my 30-some-odd years, I've walked this whole city, and I'm trying to kind of place them together, and it looks good. I know District 1's changed quite a bit. 2, not that much. 3 has changed. 4 has changed. So, I mean, it just... I beg your pardon?
She can present.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you want to go to presentation. Okay.
I'd be happy to do that, Mr.
sure.
Mayor. Thank you. So what you're seeing now is the first of the 4 concepts that were recommended to you by the committee. This is actually, it just worked out that alphabetically is sort of in descending order of favorability. So this is sort of the least favorite of the 4 that were sent to you. This is concept B. And this is really sort of minimal change in that it really is moving boundaries mostly to account for those population shifts that we talked about earlier. And as we talked about, at least one district from west of I-25 is going to have to cross east of 25 to pick up that excess population. Under concept B, it happens in 2 places. District 1 crosses 25 north of the Sandhill Arroyo to Rincon Street into District 5. And then sort of on the south end of town, District 2 crosses I-25 and Telshore south of Lowman. To pick up that excess population from District 6. And I'm actually going to turn on the current districts just so you can sort of see where the changes are a little bit easier. So the current districts are this sort of green and white check. So you can see where the changes are. So I'll just go really quickly one by one. District 1, as it crosses I-25 to take that excess population, just moves totally sort of north and east. It stays south of the Sandhill Arroyo, stays west of I-25, and stays north of basically Spruce and Chestnut here. District 2 is still primarily a university district, staying mostly south of Missouri. District 3 needs to come in here and cross boots to Farney to pick up some excess population for District 3. And District 3 stays totally south of Telshore. So you, under current districts, District 3 comes all the way out almost to the city limits between Missouri and Hillrise. This keeps District 3 totally west of Telshore. And then it's District 2 that's sort of pushing north. District 4 looks pretty similar to the way it does today, except that this is the one that we're trying to sort of keep along Main, but we're sort of contending with some of those precinct issues. But District 4 does not cross Main in the east. And so this is concept B. So concepts H1 is the next, and this was the sort of 3rd favorite of the committee according to the rankings. Oops. Sorry about that. Again, I'm going to put on the current districts so you can see where the changes are. So this takes a different approach to picking up that excess population from the East Mesa. District 3 actually comes all the way to Gasline Road through Sonoma Ranch, along, this is a big arroyo here. The southern boundary of District 3 stays pretty similar to the way it is today, at least on the east side. That's a little too much population for District 6 to lose, and District 5 still needs to shed a little bit of population. So District 6 actually crosses I-70 under concept H1 to, this is Central and Mesa Drive up in here in the East Mesa. This is also sort of a different configuration of districts 1 and 4. So where under current districts, District 4 is sort of on the west and District 1 is sort of on the east. This is more of a like horizontal orientation where District 4 takes the northern part and District 1 takes the southern part. So District 1 does not cross Main in the north and sort of jogs along like Picacho and Amador here in the north. So that becomes the boundary between District 4 and District 1. And then District 4 pushes all the way up to I-25 here in the north. And then District 1 needed a little additional population, so it actually comes down and takes Mesilla Park here in the west from District 2. So District 2 ends up needing to cross Missouri and pick up a little excess population here south of Bellama between Trivets and Solano. And then also continues to cross I-25 as it does today, but moves a little further north of Missouri, taking that piece of District 3 that under current districts crosses Telshore, but under H1, District 2 picks that up. So that's concept H1. And then concept J, which was actually drawn by a member of the committee. is yet another way to sort of think about districts crossing I-25. So this keeps District 3, rather than going all the way to Gasline, keeps it west of North Roadrunner Parkway, and then going sort of all the way to the city limits south of Lowman. This is a really similar District 2 to current districts. It just goes a little bit north to pick up some more of that population that it needed, but it picks it up on the east side of the city. The southern and western boundary of District 2 is unchanged. District 1 and District 4, again, have that sort of vertical orientation where District 4 is in the west. And actually, District 4 under Concept J looks exactly the same as under Concept B. It stays totally west of Maine, where we can because of the precinct issues. And then District 1 looks pretty similar to the way it is today, but it comes even further north and follows I-25. It also takes the sort of northern part of District 3 that was north of Spruce and west of Walnut from the current District 3. So this is another way to sort of think about the districts, Concept J. And then finally, Concept K, which was the committee's #1 pick. We see the crossing over I-25 looks a lot more similar to Concept B, where it's coming from both the north and the south. But this time we have that horizontal orientation of District 1 and 4, but it moves so far north and east that actually District 1 ends up coming and picking up the West Mesa and the airport area. So here District 4 is taking that piece that we saw District 1 take under Concept B between the Sand Hill Arroyo and Rincon. And then we see District 3 moving sort of north and east, but it doesn't cross Lowman. The southern boundary here is Missouri. District 2, so then District 2, this is different. Rather than taking population from the east side of town, takes population on the west side. And so it crosses Avenida de Mesilla all the way up to, this is Amador. So it's sort of, rather than going up on the east side to pick up population, it goes up on the west side under Concept K. And then, we see District 1 sort of coming through that, historic middle of town and then out onto the West Mesa. And then District 4 retains Mayfield High School, but stays mostly north of Picacho and then north of Maine. So, Mr. Mayor, those are the 4 concepts that the committee is suggesting to you.
Okay. So Councilor Bencomo, Councilor Abeyta. Councilor Flores, sorry.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you so much. I see the enthusiasm in your face about this, and it makes me feel really confident in this process, so thank you. And to members of the committee as well, I really want to thank them for all their work. Oh gosh, where do I start? Okay, we'll just start with this one. The committee's favorite happens to be my least favorite. I'm curious about, like, in your professional experience, District 4 is a brand new district, the way I look at it, right? The way that I have come to know and walk and build relationships with people in District 4. This gives District 4 an entirely new identity. I'm curious about, in terms of the principles, where that sort of lies. Is it like the sacrificial lamb in order to ensure communities of interest staying together? I'm just curious about your analysis on this map.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. I think that a huge chunk of this is new population for District 4. It does keep you in the district somehow.
That's kind of it, though.
Right, but the idea of sort of keeping the cores of existing districts intact is definitely something that we talk about in redistricting, as sort of not changing districts a whole lot so that voters don't get confused, and so that, exactly what you're talking about, so that this sort of district that's been together a long time stays together. But that is not a requirement of redistricting. That's just sort of something that you can think about if you want to. And, based on the feedback that the committee got and the discussions that they had, they obviously thought this was a good option for the city. Even though it does sort of violate that core of existing district principle.
Let me pull up my notes here. Do you have data on the 4 maps on how many are now Hispanic majority?
Yes. So all of them except one keep 5 Hispanic majority. Concept K. Michael, I don't know if you have this on the top of your head.
Oh, hey, Brittany, and council and mayor. This is Michael Sharp with Research and Polling. I'm sorry, Brittany, I don't really have that off the top of my head, but I can find it. I think we have, so with the 4 plans adopted, put forth by the committee, concepts. B had 4 adult Hispanic districts. H1, I don't have, let's see, H1, I don't have that number in front of me. J had 5 and K had 4.
H1 also has 5.
Okay.
So B and K have 4, and H and J have 5.
Excuse me, Brittany,
Yes.
can I get the gentleman's name one more time, please?
I'm sorry, this is Michael Sharp from Research and
Michael
Polling.
Sharp,
Yes,
okay.
he's the vice president, and he was at more meetings than I was, so we
Okay,
thought it would
no
be
problem.
good to have him in the
Okay,
room.
okay, thank you, Michael.
I'm sorry.
No, no
I'm
problem.
Sorry, I forgot to flip up the little lens cover, so here we go.
Can you just repeat that for the Hispanic majority, then 2 of the new maps? So the current map has 5 districts that are majority Hispanic.
That's right.
Right? 2 of the new maps, K and B, loses 1.
Right,
And then H1 and J remain at 5.
that's right.
Okay.
And all plans have all districts as majority minority.
Okay. Is K and B having 4, is that new to the city? Would that be the first time in a long time that that happens, or?
I don't know, Michael, do you remember historically?
Let's see if I can pull up from 10 years ago. Let's see. So 10 years ago, your current districts were adopted, at the time they were adopted, there were 4 adult Hispanic districts. That probably means that my guess would be the District 5 10 years ago was less than 50% adult Hispanic, and now, just I don't want to misstate myself, but I'll double check it before I say anything. And now District 5 is at 56 adult Hispanic. So District 5 10 years ago was not adult Hispanic, but it is today. So there were 4 10 years ago and 5 today.
Okay, that's helpful. Moving forward, let's say K and B move forward. What is sort of the consequence of losing 1 additional district that's Hispanic majority in a city that is Hispanic majority?
Absolutely. So when it comes to actual consequences from the Voting Rights Act, there are some very sort of stringent requirements. There's 3 prongs. They're called jingles factors, which always sounds really weird to me. But it's really about, so one of the factors is, does the Hispanic population vote as a cohesive block? And then does the white population vote in a cohesive block against the Hispanic candidate? And so we don't actually see a lot of that happening in Las Cruces, and so you probably wouldn't run into any VRA problems, but it is something to consider in terms of communities of interest, if that's something that you that's important to you. And we don't see really evidence of packing or cracking in this scenario. It doesn't, there aren't lines that are drawn that are sort of seem really race-based, where it's like trying to keep all of the Hispanic neighborhoods together, and it's kind of impossible to do in Las Cruces anyway, because Hispanic folks live all over the place. Yeah. So I don't think you're going to run into any trouble, but it definitely is something you can prioritize.
Okay, thank you. That's super helpful. Maybe just my last question. It's so funny. I would say that my favorite map was B. So a little bit opposite of the committee. Can you talk about perhaps, I imagine the map B though was a map where communities of interest spoke against, simply just because of like the downtown-ish area. I'm curious to hear from you the feedback on map B from the community.
Sure, and if any of the members of the committee are interested in speaking on that, I am happy to yield the floor. I can show you, so this is concept B, and we actually developed sort of a layer that includes the Alameda Depot and the Mesquite Historic District that we sort of heard a lot about. And so this right here, west of Main, this is the Alameda Depot neighborhood, according to the members of the public that talked about it. Was the boundaries they talked about. And then the Mesquite Historic District is over here on the east side of Main. And so I'm not sure if, in terms of sort of as a function of taking public comment, if having these in two separate districts was part of the issue with concept B. I think maybe the committee members would be better able to speak to that.
And actually, that's not true. I was just looking at my notes from when I was prepping for today. J was my favorite, actually.
Okay.
Can you show us this similar map with J, with this overlay that you have in this one?
Absolutely.
Counselor, so J was your favorite, not B?
Yeah.
Okay.
But easy to remember, I guess. Which one were my top two?
So this is Concept J, and so Alameda Depot is whole in District 4 under Concept J, and then actually the Mesquite Historic District is split between District 1 and District 3. Sort of the piece where the current incumbent in District 3 lives stays with District 3, and the rest of it goes in District 1 under Concept J.
Interesting. So these communities of interest would now be represented by 3 people instead of just 1.
That's right, and we sort of hear different thoughts on that because sometimes communities of interest want to have more than one representative, and we heard that a lot actually from the tribes and pueblos. Like Zuni Pueblo really likes to be in 2 separate legislative districts, but other times folks in those communities want to stay together. So it sort of depends on the community.
That's really interesting. I mean, honestly, as a community organizer who's been on that side longer than I've been on this side, when I think about building power, when I think about wanting to pass something meaningful, I think about how you do that the easiest. And you do that when you have 3 representatives. On this council, you need 4 votes to get something passed, right? And so that's interesting feedback. I would love to hear from the committee or members of the community how they see this differently, because when I look at this map, it makes the most sense to me in terms of the growth, where the growth has been, in terms of keeping, I think they're all going to change, right? We're going to have to change. The community has grown in very specific areas, and so and I do apologize if I'm not looking at the districts on the other side of 25 and just focusing on this side mostly, but when I do that, J makes the most sense to me. So I'll pass it to you all, Mayor. Thank you. And thank you so much for the information.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Beta?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you. As I was looking at these maps as well, J and B also stood out for a few reasons. But I do want to talk about the public comments and how we've seen really great organization, I think, in some specific communities, which I think is wonderful. But the reverse side for other districts is that, they don't necessarily get the same voice, and it can come out in different ways. There was a statistic brought to me today that, the District 1, these historic areas, they have 22 public art pieces from our community. The rest of the city only has 22. So 5 other districts share 22. And so that's because we have really great activism from this one district, which is fantastic. But what has it done to the rest of the community? And so that's kind of the framework that I look at for my district, which does need growth in some ways. And so I want to make sure that I'm looking at that lens as well as what's beneficial for the city as a whole. And that's one of the reasons why I do favor Concept J and Concept B. It keeps a lot of those core areas. One thing that I found, and then when I talk to with different community members, is schools often become hub centers of community when kids are going to places. So gathering more, territory up in the Hill Rise zone where there's school, there's families, there's neighbors, they're already connected together, that makes a lot of sense and also coincides to what a lot of these individuals are doing. I do have to comment that I believe it's precinct 103 should be adjusted at some point on that level because there are obvious issues with how it's drawn that kind of separates out a little bit of that community from being included in some of these areas. And then with another one of the only, I think it's on Concept, I'm looking, Concept H, one of the only areas that I have a really strong, I would say, neighborhood core identity is that of Mesilla Park. And it is something that is very much used to being around the university. It's a lot of people that are worked there. It's part of that fabric. So that would be getting shifted out, which does mean that District 1 will now have two very, very strong community identity spots, which can be really great. However, it will divide that attention. So thank you.
So your negative one would be H, or the one you wouldn't be so supportive of would be H?
The ones that I am supportive on is J and B.
Okay. Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you again, and thank you, Michael Sharp, for answering some of the questions. I don't know it by number, but I have this question about the area by the airport, which is currently District 4. What is the population there? I know we have businesses out there, we have the airport, but what is the population there?
Give me just 1 second, I can get it for you.
12 or 13 residents, I think. 13 people.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have just a handful, literally a handful of residents there. Now, in the map that has District 1 covering that area, and then having District 4 move, I was going to say, that one, yeah. So does that make the population more equitable, and because we are predominantly Hispanic here, you can look at our city council alone, does that make it, what are the respective populations of the districts? Do you have that in front of you, under this proposed map?
I will pull that up, but I can tell you that 13 people aren't going to make that big of a difference.
No, but my question goes to how impacted District 1 is.
Got you. So under Concept K, which is this one, District 1, the total population is 18,561, which actually is a deviation from the ideal population of 3 people. So it's actually a very sort of middling population district
And which
under
is
K.
and which is the highest population? Which district has the highest, 5 or 6?
Under Concept K, after we've moved the boundaries, District 4 ends up at the highest end of the deviation, so with the most people in it under Concept K.
And what is the population in District 5? In this map?
District 5 is 17,786, so it's actually on the low end of the deviation, District 5 under this plan.
And what about District 6?
District 6 is 18,187, which is a difference from the ideal of about 377 people.
So is that the highest population that we have in these districts?
No, the largest district in terms of population under Concept K is District 4.
Oh, okay. But they're all pretty much within the ballpark of the percentage that you need.
They are. So District 4 is on the high end, but still less than 5% away from the ideal population, and District 4 is on the low end, but still within that allowable plus or minus 5%.
And the Hispanic population is well represented, or at least, what's the word, relative?
So Concept K is one of the ones that only has 4 Hispanic voting age population districts. But the fifth one is right at 49.5. So it's very close to being above 50% Hispanic, but it's just not quite there.
Oh, and what about District 6? Do you have the breakdown on how many Hispanics are there?
So District 6 has 39% Hispanic voting age population under Concept K.
Oh, okay. And as far as a Councilor Abeta's point about the art, the City Art Board, by the way, does look at all of this. And the reason we have more art in parts of the city is because they are designated as historic and therefore are capable of acquiring more money in that regard in terms of having art. And it may sound, it is, I mean, yeah, and it is something, by the way, that was brought up at last Wednesday's meeting in terms of distributing art and having art represented throughout the city. And that's a very difficult, it's difficult because of the money that's involved. And areas such as I think it's your district, the new fire station? Yeah. Like the art piece there came out of the funds that were allocated through the GO bond, the 2%. But even that is facing some problems because of engineering. The design is absolutely beautiful, but there's engineering issues that have held back the actual mounting of the art piece. Yeah. So it's going to be delayed, but it'll be fantastic when it is done. It's really beautiful. But I just want to, I think that we as City Council should definitely keep an eye on how we're doing our art around the city, because it's true, what Councilor Abeta mentioned is true, but not because the city, it's not the city's fault. I mean, and I really don't think that the distribution of, the maps don't necessarily, it has more to do, well, it's just more complex than just precincts and equitable voting districts. So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So, Councilor, did you have a preference of the maps? Which ones? 1 or 2 or any?
My preference is the one that we're on right now. And the reason is because...
I'm sorry, which is the one we're on right now?
I beg your pardon?
Which one are we on right now?
I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, it's Concept K.
Okay.
It's Concept K, and it's okay with me. And I also want to thank the committee. I know that Michael Harris, we spent a couple of hours going through this, and I know that everybody else on that committee worked really hard and are dedicated to the principles that drive redistricting. So thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Brittany, so much for being here, and Mike, for your work. I know it was cumbersome, and you had so many meetings, and it was sort of trying to organize everybody and keep things straight. So, and thank you to the committee for your work and your commitment. I know you all show up in a volunteer basis, and so, but I thank you. I'm deeply grateful. It was a lot of work, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you. Brittany, gosh, I was writing as many notes as I could, especially thank you to the counselors. They made some great, you can't read my writing, but I can. The questions were great. But I'm going to start with, because we are in Concept K, and And I know Councilor Bencomo asked the question in terms of sort of those overlays, but some of the biggest concerns related to District 1 is keeping our historic, right, the original town site, which includes the Alameda Depot area, the downtown, and the Mesquite Historic District. But the Mesquite Historic District is separated, right? North Mesquite has been separated for 10 years, and I hear often how difficult that is for them, and the feeling of isolation, because it is considered historic, and yet they're not included in a lot of the things that are happening. So tell me again, does this include the Mesquite North on K?
So K includes in District 1 both the Alameda Depot and all of the Mesquite Historic District, including the southwest portion. It does not include the portion south of Amador, east of Esperanza, west of Solano, and north of Utah. That is with District 3 under Concept K.
Okay, so it does include.
It does include everything but that in District 1. And then the Amador to Utah and Esperanza to Solano is in District 3.
Yes, okay, thank you. And then on Concept H1, also, I'm sorry, Concept K, let me ask you, where I live, there's some weird things happening off of Juniper. So that belongs in Councilor Graham's area off of like Mulberry. There's some weird, there's parts of my district are east, but you know that there is that line, and the west part, it belongs to Councilor Graham. Now that I'm talking about Kilmer, those areas up there, Mulberry West. Now, does that include this area as well, Councilor
Yes.
K? Concept K?
So Concept K keeps the southern boundary of District 1 in that area completely along Spruce. So it doesn't, you can see here the current districts, I think is what you're talking about here, where District 3 comes up, and this is like that Mulberry area. Actually, this is where my brother lives. And yes.
Yay, I get your brother. Okay.
So yes, Spruce is the northern boundary of District 3 under Concept K.
And this is also the one that includes a piece of Mesilla Park that Councilor Abeda is talking about, sort of has an issue with.
That's not Concept K. I think that's Concept H1.
Oh, yes, you're right. You're right. I have it in my notes. You're right. Is that right? Yes, I was just giving you some time to look.
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay, good. Okay, now, Concept H1. Yes. I'll ask just similar questions. Does that include both the Alameda Mesquite, the North Mesquite, and that whole area that I mentioned before?
Yes, so this is Concept H1. I'm going to turn on that historic district. So this, in terms of the historic neighborhoods, this looks the same as Concept K in that everything sort of west of Esperanza is in District 1 and everything east of Esperanza is in District 3. This also holds the boundary along Spruce.
Ah, okay. When I got elected in my second term, I've worked really hard to organize the area, and that's what you saw. You saw people coming and real concerned about redistricting and the separation, amongst their district. And you've seen, there were letters, I know there were emails, there were a significant, and I feel like it was a lot of because of my organizing, in the neighborhood watch and association programs. That was my vision for my district, and so that's what you see. And so I want to honor those folks that took the time to come out. You also see very specifically, organizing around the arts and cultural district. That was new in my first term, going into the second term, and they've been successful in what they do. But And so I want to honor, that work, and I want folks to know, my colleagues here, that there were numerous letters, there were numerous times that our folks from the district came, and they were very clear they wanted to remain the same. And incorporate that northern piece of Mesquite. And there were some things I wanted to clean up about the district as well, and I'll continue to advocate for that. It was weird as you're walking that, oh, I have this part, but I don't have the west side. And although I live in that area, I walk that area, I run that area, I mean, it's hard because folks or like, for example, Lift Up Las Cruces, I'm divided in that Madrid area. A certain, I don't know if it's Evelyn West, but those aren't my constituents, but yet that's a piece of that Lift Up program. And so, I mean, I'm just advocating for everybody, but it was making it difficult. And so I completely understand. So for me, the priority, my number one is H1, and I can get behind Concept K as well. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilor Graham?
Thank you so much. To answer your question, Mayor, from the top, I am also comfortable with J and B. So just so you can keep the tally going there. Exactly, Becky and Joanna, I guess, if that helps. So as pointed out, District 3 had the most stable population in terms of numbers, I think. And I'm listening and thinking, I'm one of the newest people up here, and I don't have the experience that some of my colleagues have in working directly with this specific district on organizing or on neighborhood-specific projects. So I think that my tendency is to think a little more broadly about the entire city. And I think that's why concept maps J and B are ringing most true to me. B looks the most familiar, at least to me. And I think, I understand that there are a lot of principles and values at play here. But there's probably a comfort in that, both for the people sitting up here and for the people out in the larger electorate and the larger community. So I think I'm seeing Las Cruces as a community of interest, as opposed to recognizing there's a lot more to it than that. I think too, as I'm listening to my colleagues and appreciating all of the work they've done, it's incumbent on us up here to also work together. There are going to be changes, and I recognize that it's not always going to be the same faces up here. Things are going to change amongst the representatives, amongst the districts, and I just want to say that I have had thus far really good experience collaborating together, trying to keep one another's populations and communities and neighborhoods in mind for the greater good. And maybe I'm naively optimistic, but I think that trend will continue. So for the districts, for the neighborhoods, I shouldn't say the districts, not the capital D districts, but the smaller D districts, I hope that you can feel confident that if you are, quote unquote, split, that I think the people up here are going to find ways to work together to keep your interests at heart. So again, TLDR, J, and B. Thanks.
Councilor Beta, do you have another question or comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I was going to ask, with most of these maps, it does retain the airport district with 4, except for map K, which switched it. And so I was curious about the population growth in that area and why the switch for that.
Mr. Mayor and Councilor, I think that was less about population. As we said, that whole area has about 13 people in it.
It was more about the pressures of what the other districts were doing. So I pulled that up again. This is Concept K, where the airport area goes into District 1. And so you can see this is the one where District 2 comes up on the west side. And so as it comes up on the west side, it sort of pushes District 1 north. In that sort of, north-south District 1 and District 4 configuration. And so, because the only way to get out to the airport and have contiguity is along I-10, whatever sort of is touching I-10 in that space is going to be the district that ends up going out to the airport. So I don't think it was about population so much as the other goals of this map.
Okay, thank you.
I just erased something here. Hold on. I erased the wrong one. That's one. Okay, so I took a look at it as well. Of course, it makes no difference to me because the district is the whole city for me. But after listening to my colleagues, this is what I have so far. And I like them all except B. Okay, so if you were to do B, I show Councilors Abeyta and Graham who like B. H1, I see Mayor Pro Tem Gondara and myself. I'm okay with H1. K, I show 3. So Councilor Flores, Mayor Pro Tem, and I can go with K as well. And then J, I see Councilor Bencomo, Abeyta, Graham, and I can go with J as well. But I don't know what Councilor Coran, but I think looks like either K or J, probably. I mean, I could go with it, all of them. I don't particularly care for B. So, but the others are okay.
So you're this one, but you can go for J or K.
Well, I don't want B, so I can go for anyone but B.
Well, then,
But, like, I go with what I think makes sense, and if the majority likes, even if there's 3, then to me that's a majority.
that's what I'm saying, there's 3 on one, 3 on
But we don't know what Councilor Coran likes.
oh.
So I think if we bring back K and J, then that way there she can decide.
Narrow down.
Oh, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, can you change, is this concept, this is not J.
This is
Concept
J.
J, to Concept J, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor. Is Concept J the least amount of change or for one? What is that? But it separates the Alameda and the, yeah, not for it, sorry. Thank you.
I will say, I'll just throw this out here, if you look at, regardless of what map you're looking at, if you look at District 5, right above the number, you see how it's still white, so that's in the county, and then look directly to the right, how there's a little, like a jigsaw. I don't know, but I would foresee down the road, I don't know why that's in the county, but that would be easily annexed into the city, and it would make things a lot easier, and then all of a sudden, it can make a population in District 5, but I don't know, that's unusual that we have it like that, because it's got to cause some problems for our representatives, for our city, for county, especially when you're trying to coordinate paving of roads or services. It's in the county, or we can't pave this, or things of that nature. So.
That's not the purpose of.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying this. I'm just throwing. What I'm trying to say is, if for some reason one of these particular districts was a little bit low in District 5, that's a way to immediately add to the population. That's all. So we have Councilor Bencomo, Councilor Graham.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to note that K, the reason it would be hard for me to get behind this is because it does give District 4 an entirely new identity, just like H1 does. Basically, the only part that stays intact with District 4 is the area where I currently live. And so that's difficult. That's a difficult thing, even though I might not be here in 2 years, right? Like, that's still a difficult thing to advocate for, given the work that has been done historically in District 4. And then the other thing to note, right, is that K does reduce the number of majority Hispanic districts to 4. Was the other caveat that I think is important to consider.
I agree with what you're saying. I'd probably would be leaning more towards J because K is pretty radical. I mean, it does change things. It moves. It shakes things up. I'll be candid with you on that.
J?
No, K does. Yeah. Councilor Graham, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you. I don't know if this is technologically possible. Can we side-by-side concept maps instead of flipping back and
We
forth?
can't, no, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool,
this
thanks.
is-
Just
yeah,
thought I'd
it's a
ask.
weird software, yeah, sorry.
Right on. Thank you.
If you wanted to, I could overlay just the boundaries of one map on top of another map, but that's sort of hard to see, especially as small as this is.
I'll just give her my iPad, and then she can just take a look at it.
Great.
You want the iPad? Okay, all right. Councilor Flores?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you again, Brittany, Ms. Ross. As far as populations go, I know that the city owns land just north of the airport, and there has been some talk about housing developments there. There'd be whoever develops there has to look at air flights. And the airport will probably be an international, intrastate facility, hopefully within the next year, if all goes well. It should have been at the end of this year, but there was some setbacks. But there's still that potential, depending on air flights and all that sort of stuff and the noise. So this is the redistricting we're doing now is going to, the decision we make will hold through until the next census in 2030. And that's 8 years from now. And Las Cruces is growing so fast. And I have to say, in some ways, a lot of the land that is city property in Districts 5 and 6 are already owned by developers. And that's going up like wild weeds, quite frankly, very unattractive to me, but that's just my personal opinion. District 4 has the potential of actually, I think that's the one that's going to grow the most. Thank you.
Okay, is there any members of the public who would like to comment on this? I don't know if any of you out in the committees wanted to say anything. No? Okay. So I guess if you want to just maybe bring back K and J, because I think I think J is more of the less shake-up. K is, huh?
Is that J?
I don't know which one this is.
Yeah, this one is J.
On the screen is J or K?
This one's J.
Oh, okay, yeah, and that, other than a little bit here and there, I think. Okay.
I can bring back J and K, and we can amend based on your vote at the council meeting.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation. Is Brian Sanderoff still there?
He is, yes, he sends me on the road show, but he
okay.
is still around.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
All right,
you
we'll
very
give him my
much.
regards, please.
I will, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Sister Cities Foundation update, and Elizabeth Teeters will be presenting.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Elizabeth Teeters, and I am actually just going to be introducing Mr. Tim Chappell. He is the president of the Las Cruces Sister Cities Foundation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let's see if I can not get an echo going on here. It's my pleasure to come and present to you guys.
Excuse me, Tim. I just need you to introduce state your name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm Tim Chappell, and I'm president of Las Cruces Sister Cities Foundation. And I'm here to present on our current standings and inform the council members who aren't familiar with us some of the things that we do, because we are a very tight part of the city. Oops, the wrong button. So what I'm going to be talking about today is we're going to go over a little bit of the history of Sister Cities and Sister Cities International. I'll talk about some of the recent events that we have had going on through our organization. I'll give you a brief background on our Nienburg affiliation, our Lerdo affiliation, a proposed Cuauhtemoc affiliation, and then some upcoming events. And if you have any questions at any time, please do not hesitate to ask. In 1956, President Eisenhower started Sister Cities. He had been through 2 major wars and realized that sometimes governments are maybe not the best way to get people to cooperate. And so he started the Sister Cities Foundation and what he called citizen diplomats, trying to get people to talk to people. You know, we do exchanges where we go and we do the cities working together, the education, cultural exchanges, and by going and meeting people, sitting down, having dinner with them, lunch, experiencing their culture, we're more than likely to cooperate. And so it's a wonderful opportunity. We've had the Lerdo affiliation, which is Lerdo, Mexico, and I'll talk more about that, started in 1982. Then the Nienburg one came in 1993. Las Cruces Sister Cities is a 501c3, which means we're a nonprofit organization, and we have to comply with all of the legal parts of that. Some of the recent events is in the fall of 2018. A group from Nienburg, a Nienburg delegation, came and visited. I'll show some pictures of that here in just a minute. In 2019, we had a delegation come from our sister city in Lerdo, Mexico. We also participated with the mayor at the International Mayoral Summit between El Paso and Juarez, which was just a fabulous event. And then we also had a Las Cruces Sister Cities concert, which I'll talk about here in a second. Let me talk a little bit first about our Nienburg affiliate. Nienburg is in Lower Saxony in Germany. It's a smaller town, smaller than us, about 32,000 people. It's quite a historic place. This is their farmers market, which is, just as I understand, one of the leading ones in Europe, where it just goes on in food and beautiful flowers and all kinds of things like that. In their fall, this is a picture from their fall visit in 2018, where we have members of their delegation and city representatives here at the time. Okay, and what we did is we had an event here at the city council meeting where we reaffirmed our cooperation with Nienburg, and the mayors actually reassigned an agreement stating that we want to continue to work together as sister cities. Excuse me. This is an interesting picture because it looks like it's just people here in the gallery. But at the same time we had the visit, if you notice that there's several students that were also exchange students that were here they were at Centennial High School for about 2 weeks. And so we have had exchanges in the past where we will send students to Germany and they go and visit in Nienburg and participate in the school program to see how the schools functions and stuff like that. And they did the same thing over here. And the students are housed with people in the community and stuff. It's a wonderful opportunity. And then we had a beautiful cake. I put together just a few pictures. we're running out of time, so I didn't want to get into a vote. But that group of people there is when the last visit we had to Nienburg. When was that, Jim? 2015. That was in 2015, the last time we went over there. And I'll talk in a minute about some upcoming events, about what we have planned for that. Our next sister city is Lerdo, Durango, Mexico. It has a population of about 150,000. It's part of the Tri-Cities. There's Lerdo, Torreon, and Gomez Palacio. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between one unless you see a sign when you drive between them, but they are in different states as well as cities. Lerdo is the oldest city. It was the first one that was founded there as part of a hacienda. And you can see over on the right-hand side, that's part of the plaza and the city offices downtown. We hosted them here for a visit in 2019. This was at Hale Huber's house at the time. You can see it looks like it rained there. We were going to have a barbecue, and that was the last time it actually rained here in Las Cruces. But what was interesting is that we had, it rained, so we had to go inside, and you can see us sitting inside the house, and it was really worked out well because everybody sat around and talked, and we actually sang some songs, and then when the rain let up and we were able to go out and have our barbecue, everybody intermixed. You know, sometimes when you have delegations on visits, people get they'll stick with the people that they know, and everybody just had a wonderful time. It worked out really well. We also did a signing agreement here at the City Hall where the mayors signed confirmation that they wanted to support the Sister Cities affiliation. We also took them down here to the wall that's outside. And what's interesting, and I didn't get a picture of it, but the backside of these murals there is marble that was actually donated from Lerdo to Las Cruces when these were originally down in the downtown area. And they managed to save it and incorporate it back into the backside of these pictures, the tiles. And there's some of the visit when we took them downtown. We were very proud to show them the revitalization of the downtown area, and they got some good ideas. They were glad to see that as well. Now we have a new affiliation that we're looking at trying, Cuauhtemoc, I believe I said that right, which is also in Chihuahua, Mexico. It has a population of about 180,000. Beto Flores, who is with the city of Cuauhtemoc and is with their economic office, I took some of these pictures from a slideshow he presented to us, and if you would like more information, I'm sure he would be more than happy to give you the details, because it's just and I know the mayor, you had talked with him and met with their mayor about all of the opportunities that could go on between our two cities, which is just pretty amazing. It's only about 250 miles, 300 miles south of Las Cruces, and it's just a straight shot. When you get just south of Chihuahua, if you sort of take the road that goes to the left, you go down to Lerdo and Torreon, and if you go the other way, you go to Cuauhtemoc, which is also called sometimes the gateway to Copper Canyon. Okay, and I've got a picture of that. One of the things I found very interesting about this is they just had a celebration down there where they have three sort of groups of people. They have the Native Americans. Cuauhtemoc is a Tarahumara name for the village that's there, so there's a big population of that between there and in Copper Canyon. Then there's the Mennonites who moved down there, as you can see from the plaque 100 years ago, which have a large, they're quite into the farming and some of the manufacturing that goes on down there. And then you have just the rest of the Hispanic population, and they all live and cooperate and work together down there. On the right-hand side, they talk about Copper Canyon and Sierra Tarahumara, which are just, as I understand, that area, that whole thing is like twice the size of the Grand Canyon in the U.S. I haven't been there, but it's on my bucket list. It's one of those things I would just love to go see. They have a train that goes through there that's just fabulous.
It goes to Los Mochis.
I'm sorry?
The route goes from Cuauhtemoc to Los Mochis.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So just to give you a brief history of what's going on with this affiliation is we were approached in March by city representatives about what it would take to form a new affiliation. And we actually have, if anybody wants to see it, I brought a copy of it. It's from the Sister Cities International on what it takes. You know, we can't just go and say, oh, let's be sister cities with this, sister cities with them. There has to be committees in both towns made up of, you know, the people of the population of the area. And so it was presented to us, and then they gave us a formal presentation at our board meeting on April 22nd. And in April, and on the 21st, the board approved the formation of a new affiliation. We sent an email to the city saying that you had our approval to do this, and we have about 1 year period to meet all the requirements of forming a new affiliation. We've had some concerns that there's been a number of turnovers of our points of contact with sister cities, and we're not really sure what the status of that is with the city. So we plan on meeting with our new Ms. Teeters here as soon as we get an opportunity to go over what the current status of that is going to be. This is just a quick picture of the mayoral summit down in El Paso, which was just really neat. If you, it was a really interesting celebration. I've lived here, was born and raised here in Las Cruces, and I really got an appreciation for how the city of El Paso and the city of Juarez really do view themselves as sister cities. And they were talking about, there was a number of presentations and the number of how closely they are tied, you know, both economically and culturally and stuff like that. They took us, we went one night over to Juarez, you can see there, where they showed us around, showed us some of the new museums they have put up and stuff like that. There on the left of that picture, way in the back, Mayor, that's Mayor Miyagishima there, where they had a discussion panel of mayors from around the city. It's really interesting that the president of the Sister Cities International Foundation is the mayor of San Antonio, and how their city is big in doing sister cities with some of the cities in Mexico as well. And this was when I was talking about the Sister Cities concert, the New Horizons Symphony. Jorge Martinez Rios is actually from down in the Torreon area. His parents actually live in Lerdo, and he supports tremendously the amount of us being able to do a cultural and musical exchange with the groups down there, and it's fabulous. Some of the players in that band right there, they had brought up from Mexico. I think they were from Torreon, and it's interesting because the conductor from in Torreon is from the U.S. and Jorge's from Mexico, so they kind of interesting combination. But it was a wonderful event and an ability for us to get our name out there in the community. So here are some of the events we have planning. Well, obviously here today, the working session, we're going to be having a Nienberg meeting here. I'm not sure if we'll actually have it on the 17th, but we plan on having a Zoom meeting. The one thing I can say about the pandemic is it really opened us the opportunity for us to be able to have, when we have our meetings here, we can have meetings with the representatives from around the world. So we always have representatives now from the Nienberg. We try and have those on a Saturday about noon, because there's a 7-8 hour difference? 8 hour difference with Nienberg. So we have it Saturdays at noon, so there are people, they don't have to be on their job, but yet it's not at 8 o'clock at night or midnight there. So, and that's worked out really, really well. We're going to be having an annual meeting coming up. The board still needs to figure out that. There is scheduled a mayoral summit 11th to 14th in San Diego. I'm not sure if the mayor is going to be able to attend or not, but I know you were very supportive of the one down in El Paso. We'll have our foundation board meeting coming up in October, then another public Nienberg, another Lerdo meeting, and then right now we just had 2 of our representatives were over in Nienberg looking at trying to plan a trip next year to Nienberg, Germany. And as soon as I have a chance to meet with them, they just literally got back. We'll provide you guys with more details because it's a fantastic, if you guys get a chance to participate, obviously all the mayor and councilors and anybody would certainly be invited to go to do something like that, and it's a wonderful opportunity. With that, do you have any questions?
Let me just ask one before I turn to my colleagues. So, I'm asked often about, can we be sister city here and there? And I was of the impression that you can only have one per country. So they changed that?
They did.
Oh, okay.
You were absolutely right. That was the rule, and I double checked that when you came and asked about us doing another one. And yeah, the Sister Cities Internationals. Yeah, do all you want.
Okay. Now I understand, because I wasn't aware of Watomac, which I'm okay with. I got a text from a friend of mine in Juarez wanting to know if we could sign something in San Diego. I said, you gotta let the city council know I can't do this on my own. So it's very timely that we had this here today. So I'm okay. I told him, I said, I didn't think we could do 2 in a country, but if you're saying if Sister Cities International has relaxed the rules, that was good. Okay.
Yes, we can have as many as our biggest limitation as for Sister Cities Las Cruces is manpower. Yeah. We're stretched to our limits, so that's why we need, if we want to do another sister city, somebody's going to have to bring in, people to do that.
Yeah, because I know that when we've had summits or when we've had meetings in Juarez, a lot of representatives from Chihuahua show, and I get the impression there could be a lot of trade or a lot of business as well, between the 2 cities.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Councilor Flores?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much, Tim, for your presentation. What was it, 3-4 years ago when Lerdo was here?
Yes, yeah.
So I think friendships were really forged, and I see 2 very special people there. And so and Eisenhower was right. He also brought the Autobahn, the freeway. So he picked up a lot on his tours of duty. Yes. So I think it's wonderful that you've worked so hard, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for bringing people together, because you're absolutely right. I mean, we never know when different countries are going to be at war with each other, and as we have now going out, where. But I think that when it's a one-on-one, you get to know people we get to know each other for who we are. And we're all made of, skin, and bones and blood and everything like that. But I just really, really want to thank you, and because it is an effort and it's a commitment, and I can't wait to hear about Nuremberg. I love Germany. It's a beautiful place, and I know it has a horrible stigma because of World War II. But when you meet the people, and I was in Munich, and it's interesting how they don't hide the history of what happened during World War II, but they don't condone it, and it's good to know that. So I like the global understanding. My father was active in city affairs in Santa Fe Springs, California, and we had 2 sister cities at the time. This was back in the 60s and 70s, and it was Nagoya, Japan, and Hermosillo, Mexico, Sinaloa. So, or is it Sonora? I confused the two, I'm sorry. But anyway, and that too, and Mayor Miyashima is absolutely correct about economic development, and I'm glad that that Ms. Teeters is here. We need to forge more of that to benefit both countries. So again, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
So Councilor, you're okay moving forward with Sister City's agreement with Cuauhtémoc?
Oh, with Cuauhtémoc? Give you Spanish lessons. Yes, absolutely. As I said, Santa Fe Springs had 2 back when. So I think that there is a limit in this, and the more the merrier. So yes, absolutely, thank you.
Although I've never seen it, I've heard about Copper Canyon that it's actually 5 to 8 times larger than Grand Canyon. And
Yes, and Jim did mention that, but you were busy on your cell phone. But
I was not. I haven't done any texting
oh, excuse me,
today.
you were busy looking at your screens. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to get the maps for Councilor Graham.
In fact, I haven't taken that trip, but people who I know, and I think maybe your family has been on it, is that it's amazing because of the width and depth or height, whatever, that people say you can actually see the stars below you. And that it's just an amazing trip. One of these years I'll do it. Thank you.
We have Mayor Pro Tem Gata and then Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chappell. Appreciate you and your presentation, giving us information, and for all of you who sit in Sister Cities. I was honored to be able to be a part of those visits from Nymburk and Laredo, and the music. I mean, it was standing room only. I think I was standing in the back because I got there a bit late when it happened at New Mexico State University, and it was impressive. So thank you so much for all your work. I think this is really important, and for me, most important is the relationship that we're forging with our youth. I think being able to have them here, and that 2 weeks is a phenomenal experience, and I like to, and I know it'll take some coordination, but I think we should really, there's something there, I think, when we can get our youth, and I agree with you with the pandemic, but many of our youth are so technology savvy, and so not only Zoom but the social media, and they're communicating with kids all over the world, frankly. So I'm for including the other city. Remind me the name again.
Cuauhtémoc.
Cuauhtémoc. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Bencomo.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you so much. I'm very new to the Sister City program. I have a question, but I did want to note that I'm originally from a little town about 2 hours north and then a little west of Cuauhtémoc.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
And Copper Canyon is one of my mom's favorite places on the planet. But just some questions about Sister Cities. I'm just curious around, was Cuauhtémoc chosen for Las Cruces specifically, or?
I'm not sure how that, I guess, Mayor, you could probably come up.
Yeah, so I think what happens is, like I said, I get offers, hey, can we be Sister Cities? And I usually say, I'd like to, but we have this limitation to 2 on 1 per country. And I guess they must have just followed through with it because these guys knew about it. I didn't even know about it. And then I get a text about 3 weeks ago saying, hey, can we do this in San Diego? I go, no, we can't do this. I don't think the council even knows about this. Where'd this come up with? And so they were pretty, they want to see this happen. So I said, I can't do anything without council's approval. And so this was, when I saw it on the agenda, I thought, wow, this is pretty good.
Mayor, I'm just mostly curious about, is there strategy behind it, economic development opportunities, what's?
Usually what Sister Cities likes, in addition to being able to reach out to our neighbors, or usually they try to make it the cities of the same size. We can't be Sister Cities with some city that's millions, 3 million population. But one of the key is to have participation from people over here in Las Cruces that would entertain and greet the residents, because Laredo worked out good because of the community college. There were students that would go back and forth, and they would have, and the university, New Mexico State, we'd have various things with that. And then Nienberg, there's just a lot of residents from Las Cruces who enjoy going to Germany, and so they took it upon themselves to really entertain and help with because there's really not a whole lot of money. I don't even think we budget. If we do, it's very small from the city, very small. I don't know, $5,000 maybe. It's if that much.
Okay, cool, Mayor. Thank you. That's interesting. Last thing I'll say is I've been to Cuauhtemoc many times. There's a big Mennonite community in Cuauhtemoc. They have great cheese.
Yes.
Well, well, maybe we can buy it and then sell it to Saputo and make a little money there.
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, just to add a little bit to your question about whether this came to be, I'm going to speak on behalf of Dr. Payeras. He went down to Chihuahua City earlier this year, I believe, and on the way, I'm not sure if representatives from Cuauhtemoc or they stopped on the way, but they connected, and he started learning about agriculture and how, and the Mennonite community. And so I believe the conversation started with, because we're heavy in agriculture also, they do cheese, we obviously do chilies and pecans and stuff. So this conversation kind of started economic development, like figuring out how we can connect, and being a sister city was a way to make that happen.
Very good. So you're good with moving forward? Yeah, okay. Any other counselors? No? Okay, happy to move. Okay, great. Okay, so I guess we'll have something to move forward to and have staff bring back something. I don't know what, because I think the agreements with Laredo and Nienberg were here even before I was a member.
Yeah, we were just reaffirming them, kind of on the anniversary. The same thing. We hope maybe you'll be able to get a chance to go to Nienberg when we have the trip coming up next year.
I would like to. That would be fun.
Good. Right.
I already put my order in. I'm not too good at drinking warm temperature beer. That's not too good.
Okay. Well, if nobody has anything else, thank you so much for the time and opportunity to come and present. If you have any questions, please get a hold of me, and I'll be glad to work with you and answer any questions you may have.
I want to thank you and Roger and Hale and all those that are participating in Sister Cities. We couldn't have this without you all, because I know you volunteer your time and your efforts, and you do it because of the love of people and sense of community. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so next, I point 3.3, the ARPA reporting. And it looks like Amber Vaughn will be leading that off.
Thank you. Sorry. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Amber Vaughn for the record. And today I'll be going over the American Rescue Plan Act transparency portal that has been developed using OpenGov and has been placed on the website. So here's a picture of just the main page when you log in. I know it's small. I'll go into detail with some larger font with what's actually on there. This is just how the front page looks. On that front page, there is a summary that explains the first tranche of funding and the second tranche and when they came in and how much those were for. It also outlines what the money was to be used for COVID-19 response efforts to continue to the decreased spread of the virus and to bring the pandemic under control. So it goes into all of that detail on that page. Under that, there are additional links to other websites. One of those is the federal government's financial recovery efforts and ARPA page that gives all the rules for ARPA, as well as the City of Las Cruces has a page on here that has all the resolutions and some reports that have been developed for ARPA. It also has a link to the Doñana County Rental Assistance Program, as well as the State of New Mexico Mortgage Assistance Program. Another item on the page is a chart, and this chart shows the money that has been received and the expenditures that have been expended for ARPA. This is the whole distribution, and it's by fiscal year, and if you hover over those items, it'll give you the actual detailed dollar amounts on those. Now, a little further down the page, we're going to have the different focus areas that were decided by council. One of those is the sport public health response, replace public sector revenue loss, address negative economic impacts,
improve water and sewer infrastructure, and provide premium pay to essential workers. Now, each one of these pictures and text has a link that you can click on that's going to take you to a new page that's going to give you specific information about that area. So the one I chose to show today is the public health response. It will give a summary of what was decided, what the money's to be used for, what the final rule was from the Treasury. There will also be a list of all of the different programs or projects that were selected under that specific focus area. Each one of those links, each one of those, like the MIH says 2 squad vehicles, you'll be able to click on that and it will take you to another page that's going to tell you the status of that and how much money has been spent and how much money was allotted for that. There is a page on there that is what's called Resolutions and Reporting. It has a list of all the City of Las Cruces resolutions that were approved for ARPA. You can click on those and it'll take you to the actual resolution so you can read it. Also, Finance creates quarterly reports to the Treasury. Those are linked as well, so you can click on those and see those. And as any audit reports come in, those will also be linked. Coming soon will be the community investment projects information. So all those projects that were reviewed and once the projects are approved, we will be able to link and have that information also on this transparency portal so that the public and city council can go and review those, what's been spent, what information's available, and any reporting that's available. So just to give you an update on how to get there, it is on the city website, www.las-cruces.org. I think it's switching to Gov as well. Government, then the Transparency and Accountability, and it has American Rescue Plan Act. And you can click on that and it'll take you to that website. And I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Amber. Questions? Councilor Abeta.
Thank you. Thank you, Amber. More of just a comment and honestly, a thank you. I think this is really important to show the community, and as we go to the second tranche of money to see where these programs are going to and how they're helping their community. So really, really excited to see this, and thank you for the details that will be added to it. So thanks. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I agree as well. This was really good, and we appreciate that very much. And Ifo told me that software costs a lot of money. So.
Yes, and there can be more reports developed from it. So.
Good. Okay, so nothing further?
Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, last is item 3.4, City of Las Cruces Economic Outlook, and Dr. Monica Torres will be presenting. You do have a PhD, right? I just called you doctor.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. I thought so. I wasn't too sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. Monica Torres, City Economist with Economic Development. I will be giving you an overview on the latest data on employment, unemployment rate, cannabis sales, GRT, consumer price index, and employment on different sectors. So data available as last month indicates that employment remains really strong in the City of Las Cruces. Employment grew about 3% in July as compared to previous year. This is about 1,400 additional workers. And while labor force didn't see a large increase, there's still 22 persons joined the labor force. And on the nation, at the end of July, there were about 11.2 unfilled U.S. job openings, which is about 2 job openings for every person that is counted as unemployed. And while unemployment rate saw a small increase in June and July as compared to May at 4.7, the unemployment rate for July remains at some of the lowest levels in recent years. There were about 2,000 persons actively looking for a job in July 2022. And while most sectors experienced growth in the Las Cruces MSA, leisure and hospitality grew about 11%, which is about 900 additional jobs. Another sector that has been growing is education and health services. In a year-over-year basis, at July, it increased 3%, which is about 500 additional jobs. In June business month, GRT increased 12% to end at 10.7 million. And in regards to cannabis sales, they've been very stable. While there was a small decrease in June, at the end of August, sales went back to their previous level in May to end in 3.3 million. And while medical sales saw a small 1% decrease, adult sales saw an equivalent increase. In regards to new business registrations, there were 77 new business registrations in August 2022 as compared to a previous year. That's 10 additional registrations. And in regards to consumer price index, while we saw a small decrease in July as compared to a previous month, consumer price index remains high levels in recent years. Therefore, the Federal Reserve started increasing the Fed's fund rate. To date, it has increased about 2.25 percentage points, and it has signaled the possibility for further increases. So looking ahead, employment remains really strong in the city of Las Cruces. Unemployment rate is among the lowest rates in recent years. Most sectors have been growing in Las Cruces MSA, especially leisure and hospitality. But the nation is also experiencing high inflation. And as I said before, the Federal Reserve started increasing the Fed's fund rate, which typically has a benchmark for the rates for other interest rate for loans. An increase in interest rates can have an impact in demand and therefore in employment as borrowing becomes more expensive. But we also have to keep in mind that job openings are near historical levels in the nation. So the next Federal Reserve meeting is at the end of September, and they're going to decide on what to do next to control prices. I don't know if you have any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much, Dr. Torres. I always find this so fascinating, and you were amazing, so thank you. I have a lot of respect for you and the work that you do for us here. I just wanted to, our unemployment, it's 4.7% here in Las Cruces or Doniana?
In Las Cruces.
Las Cruces, gosh, that's
pretty low.
It's pretty low, and the 2,274 folks are looking for a position.
Actively looking in Las Cruces.
Dr. Torres, and then how many jobs are available in our city?
I don't think I have an answer for that. I can look, we have a database that we can look, but it's not
inclusive, I'm assuming.
It's they might have repetitive entries. Like I need to dig deeper and see if I can get that information.
Okay.
But as right now, I don't have the number.
That would be great. I'd love to see that, if how many positions. And I mean, this is really important to me because we hear a lot of. And I'll say this, last council meeting, somebody came up and said, oh, the state of New Mexico and Las Cruces specifically is downhill. And I know that's not true. We've had the highest GRT that we've had, even pre-pandemic, and this is important for us to know, especially around the leisure and hospitality, where we hear, the sky is going to fall because you raise minimum wage, and those things of that sort, and it hasn't happened even during a pandemic. And so this is really important information to me. I also want, yes, Mayor, I'm sorry, did you say, oh, I'm sorry. I had another, slide 5, can you go back to that? Okay, I wanted to take a picture. Now, are you saying on the plus 500, the 3% for education and health specifically, are those new positions that have been created specifically for our area here in Las Cruces? Can you explain that a little more, Dr. Torres?
This is the year-over-year change in that field. Like, as compared to July 2021, there were 500 additional jobs in education and health services.
New positions,
it could be,
essentially.
yes, as
Okay.
compared to last year.
Okay, that's great. It's excellent, I think. And, I've been really concerned about our health sector and the number of positions that we have available. I've heard different averages of the age of a lot of our doctors, specifically, and we've been talking about that at our Economic Development Policy Review Committee, specifically around the medical sector, and most specifically our pediatricians. And, in order for us to just continue to maintain and, increase our GRT, that whole leakage study that was spoken of, you came and you did a presentation about that leakage study, and so many people leave our city specifically to get specialty visits taken care of. That is a huge burden for our folks, but where I'm mostly concerned is our pediatricians. We don't have enough pediatricians to meet the need specifically, and so any thoughts, Dr. Torres, around that? And maybe, I know Elizabeth is here, but I would really like to focus specifically on that. I know that you, in conjunction with Workforce Solutions, did a health fair specific to our health sector, but anything that we can do around that and partnering with our schools, our education system, I think, are important because they go hand in hand, right? In order to recruit our physicians and our specialty docs, we have to have really a top-notch education. And so, Mayor, I would like to see us have a joint meeting with our school board. Specifically, I've heard a lot, when we're recruiting our physicians and such, it's really hard for the spouses because they come to a new community, hard to connect in a new community, and I want us to just be very mindful of that. I think it's important. And then, Dr. Torres, remind me around the price index, the consumer price index. Can you explain that a little more to me and why that's important?
This is inflation. This is the rate of change in prices for all items for the U.S. average city.
Okay.
So in June, the nation experienced the highest level in 40 years. It inched a little lower for July. The next numbers are coming up in the next couple days.
Is it a quarterly report?
It's a monthly.
Monthly, okay.
Monthly. It comes around at 13.
Okay. Now, anything that we could do as a city, as a council, to help reduce that?
I think this is the Federal Reserve is working towards controlling prices. Is one of their priority, and they're very focused on achieving this. So, as a city, I don't think I have an answer for.
Thank you, Dr. Torres. Thank you, Mayor. Those are all my questions.
Sure. Councilor Bencomo.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you so much, Dr. Torres, for your presentation. It's always very informative. Back to the questions around unemployment. Do you have demographics on those 4.7? Is that hard?
I don't have demographics. Like sometimes for city level, it's hard to find the data.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can look and see what I can find for you.
I would love that, right? Because it's not just numbers; they're people, right? And I'd want to know. I know that Economic Department has been working really hard to do a ton of job fairs and even very specific job fairs. And so I'm just, I want to understand better who these folks are. Is it young people? Is it older folks? Like, who are they, so that we can reach out to them in a better manner. On page 5, where does the cannabis industry, it could fall under a bunch of these, right? Retail.
This is for the Las Cruces MSA, and they just present the sectors. They don't disaggregate. So I'm guessing some of the cannabis can be in the retail trade, but I don't have the data.
Okay, that's okay. I'm just curious to figure that out. My other 2 questions are more broad, and given the recent federal legislation around the Inflation Act, I'm curious if you have any assessments as to how that might impact Las Cruces and our economic outlook.
Well, there's In a recent speech, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said that they will, they're working towards lowering inflation. And this might create some softening of the job market conditions. The best case scenario is like there's a lot of job openings right now, so that they may decrease the number of job openings available. They might decrease the job growth rate, and worst case scenario, it can increase the unemployment rate.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Are you giving these outlooks quarterly?
Yeah, we put them in our website.
Okay.
There's a link, Economic Outlooks.
Okay, so maybe by next quarterly update, you'll have some information on that, on what the Inflation Reduction Act possibly did.
Yeah, like good thing in July hit a little lower, still high, but at least it didn't went higher.
Right.
So let's see this month, next coming month. So yeah, we will be publishing the Economic Outlook.
And then I'm really curious about the student loan forgiveness information, and do you think there's going to be any way to, when that happens, to know what impact it had on Las Cruces?
I will need to look into that.
Okay.
I'll look into that. 'Cause
I'd be so curious how many families in Las Cruces were impacted by that. Thank you so much, Dr. Torres.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilor Flores?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Dr. Torres, PhD in economics. It's always a pleasure to see you, and thank you for your presentation. Can you go to page 9, please? So the federal fund, I think, is a fiction of economics. And I don't understand economics. That's why I'm in awe of you and Dr. Payares and anybody who gets like an A or a B in macro or macro or whatever, macro, and what's the other one?
Micro.
Oh, yeah, micro, yeah, there you go. So there you have it, economics. But, you know, you look at, you look at all the, the ups and downs and really up, and then it comes down again. Is there a comprehensive report that shows what contributes to the federal fund, the reserve, the Federal Reserve making these adjustments? I mean, is there something objective that we, the lay people, can look at and fully understand? And that's why I think it's a fiction. I think, and because Bernanke, the old guy, Ben Bernanke, I mean, when he was asked, this always comes to mind whenever, the Federal Reserve comes up, because he was asked, and he boldly said, you reduce inflation by moving, just move the decimal. I mean, he said it, and it was very cynical, but he didn't, you think he's joking. He wasn't. So that's why I think it's a fiction. I think that a lot of these things can be adjusted. Like right now, interest rates on anything, on credit cards, on this, that, and the other, are just out of this world. And I don't know, is there any explanation or any kind of a way of, how do they come to the consumer price index other than just fixing prices? I mean, how do they arrive at that? Do you know?
At the how they arrive to the consumer price index? It's they gather prices around the city. It's they have a basket of goods that they track on certain time periods. It's very comprehensive of like what kind of products they're tracking, and then there's energy, there's a bunch of different items that they use to calculate the consumer price index. But I can find maybe some document that gives a better explanation that I can share with you, like on how, and then the federal fund rate, it's used as a benchmark for other loans like credit cards, mortgage rates. So typically, if that increases, other rate in other loans will tend to increase. We already experienced an increase in the 30-year mortgage rate as a result of some of the increases we've seen so far.
Right. See, the only, the only thing that I can look at objectively is, and then of course blame it on COVID. Anything happens, blame it on COVID. Where, you know, there was a loss of, like the production of lumber coming from Canada. I mean, it went up exponentially because of COVID. And then prices of food, prices, I mean, everything. You go to the market and you think, wait a minute, wasn't that just like $2 last week, and this week it's $4? And it's like, you know, from cotton balls up all the way to, you know, bird seed to meats and produce. So I guess it's a global thing where prices have gone up because we don't have enough commodities. Commodities are scarce because of COVID. Everything because of COVID. I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of like wondering how it can end, and I guess there's no end to it. And I know, you know, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but all of this just really, it's fascinating to me. At the same time, it's dreadful in terms of the impact it's having, you know, worldwide, but especially here in our community.
I think there was a couple of things that worked together to create this environment. The COVID brought a lot of changes. There was a lot of supply chain disruptions, demand and supply imbalances. Then we had geopolitical factors. The war in Ukraine created more constraints. All the closures due to the pandemic also led to more imbalances. So we had a period of very low interest rates for a long time that could have also played a role. So there's a lot of parts contributing to the current uncertainty that we're living in the nation.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Dr. Torres, for shedding some light on that. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anybody else? So I just wanted to address something, Mayor Pro Tem, you were talking about the doctors. The few that I've spoken with, a lot of the sole proprietors, they're selling their practice to the hospitals, and they cite two reasons. One is the professional liability rates are going up a lot, and two, there was something that I guess a lot of attorney generals throughout different states just started looking at all these doctors and were checking to make sure they weren't overbilling for Medicaid fraud. And they would do these audits and then charge the doctors for these audits. And some of them were pretty expensive. And they were just tired of the red tape. The insurance companies health insurance companies weren't reimbursing them right away. And they were taking 90 days before they get paid. And they just, you know, so you're starting to see hospitals owning these small practices. And so it's a challenge for them. And yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you, that part there. Okay, so thank you very much for that update. We appreciate that. It doesn't look like there's anything else on the agenda. So if there's nothing further, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Bencomo.
Motion made by Councilor Arbeta, second by Councilor Bencomo. Christine?
This is on the motion to adjourn the work session. Councilor Beta?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Coran is absent. Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gondado?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, we're adjourned. It's 3:08 p.m. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the agenda setting meeting for the September 19, 2022 City Council meeting. Number 1, non-consent.
1 non-consent.
2, non-consent.
2 non-consent.
3, non-consent.
3 non-consent.
4, non-consent.
4 non-consent.
5, non-consent.
5 non-consent.
6, non-consent.
6 non-consent.
And 7, non-consent.
7 non-consent.
Yeah, this is good.